Hi people, it's Sarkovist here with yet another vlog video, so this is probably the third this weekend, and after watching a film on Netflix entitled Video Game the Movie, which is essentially an up-to-date documentary of gaming and how far we've come with it. It was made this year, so it includes new games and old. It's a great film to watch, and if you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend watching it via Netflix or some other medium. But what I took away from that is how far we've come and how insanely high our standards have become, both from a developer's point of view and the consumer's point of view. Because we have to appreciate that at one point in time we were happy with very basic games indeed. So although we have very fond memories of games like Mario, Sonic, these were basic games, but we loved them back in the day, we really enjoyed them. Or in my case it's probably more PlayStation 2 games like for example, Simpsons Hit and Run by today's standards would be considered a bit lacking, but I loved it at the time. But now standards have risen both from the creator's point of view and our own. And what this does is, although we get to enjoy games that are getting better and better and better, it does kind of spoil us. We are almost a bit spoilt, and we can't blame ourselves because it's just the way it goes. If a media area, be it music, films, gaming, if it increases, so will the expectations of the viewer, of the consumer. And that's what's happened with gaming. So we've got to the point where a game such as this, such as Ryse Son of Rome, can be considered mediocre, when really on so many levels it's astounding. I mean, graphically it's great, the gameplay is solid. Really the only two things that bring this game down are repetitiveness, but then again you could argue that most games these days are repetitive, and also the fact the story is a little bit short, but in so many areas it's a great game. Voice acting, the story is interesting, and I really like this Horde mode, well Gladiator mode as it's called. It's really good, but if you go on Metacritic, at least on the professional reviews, you'll notice this is basically considered mediocre. But it's just a case of standards. I mean, it's a perfectly working game, it functions totally well, I've got lots of fun out of it. And this is going to sound nuts, but this is probably because I like this genre so much. But I think I've had more fun with this on the PC than I have with Destiny. I know, right, jump back. I appreciate Destiny maybe is a better game, but I've personally enjoyed Ryse Son of Rome more. But this isn't a review of Ryse Son of Rome, that isn't the point of this video, I'm just using it as an example, because our standards have risen so high. Now there are certain things that go wrong that we shouldn't accept. For example, if a game comes out and the servers aren't up, meaning you can't play it, that is bad. I mean, if you buy a product, it should work as expected, that is totally fair. But the thing is, you have to work out, was the money I spent for it worth it? And I think for gaming, you really do get your money's worth almost all the time. I mean, if you think about a movie ticket, for example, in the UK they can cost between £8 and £12, it depends on where you're going. And that's for roughly a 2-hour experience, maybe more, maybe less. When you play a game, it can cost up to £30 or £40. It depends on platform or whether it's AAA. And although that's considerably more, you get far much more for your money. The amount of time you can spend on it, it just feels well spent. I very rarely feel like I've spent money on a game and I regret it, because I know that I can come back to it even if I don't initially enjoy it. I know that I can spend hours on it and it'd be different. It's just so excellent. So it's almost like we've almost entered an age of decadence for gaming, where we have to point out the smallest things. And I'm pointing a finger at myself too, I'm not jumping away from this. So maybe when I make I'll make a fool of myself if you want. I made a video talking about how it's annoying that there was parity for Assassin's Creed Unity. And while I stand by the points I made there, perhaps I was a little... It could almost sound like I was being ungrateful for the standards we've reached. I mean, it's such a beautiful looking game anyway. I mean, I haven't played it, but just from what we've seen of it, sure, that's a little annoying, but we've got to the point where things like parity are a concern, and really that is a good thing. You do hear a lot of doom and gloom from a lot of people about the gaming industry, and there are problems, don't get me wrong, but on the whole we are in what feels like a golden age. More people than ever are gaming, the standard for games is going up, there's more variety than there's ever been. Really, this is a video just me saying we should appreciate how we've got it right now, because it is good. It is pretty good. Not that And this is the other thing though. I made a video a long time ago entitled "It's better to complain than to be complacent," because at the same time, while it's very important to appreciate when things are good, you shouldn't therefore start apologising on behalf of a company. So if they make a mistake, you shouldn't feel the need to defend them. If they do something wrong, then it works out best for the consumer if you actually, bring your concerns to them. And they want to, because I'm sure a lot of developers want to make the best product they can. I mean, why would they bring out these beta tests if they weren't concerned with what their consumers wanted? But that is the message of this video, is that things are generally pretty good. I mean, I imagine there are certain areas where people are frustrated. I can imagine for indie developers, I should say, exposure must be a pretty annoying issue. But I think we are in a good place, especially if you're a PC gamer, because Steam is such a convenient platform to be able to install all your games onto. It's just made things so much easier than, having to keep all these pass keys in order to access your games. If you remember back in the day when you only were able to use your key 3 times and after that you couldn't install it anymore, but Steam has eliminated that issue and it just makes it all so much easier. So I think this has been a fairly positive video, so I think it's a good place to end it. As always people, thanks very much for watching and see you next time.